Welcome to a very special edition of the Amazing Mets Alumni Podcast. And this is the 60th anniversary of the Mets franchise. What better way to have a distinguished panelist of four original 1962 Mets. Started with Craig Anderson, led the team in 1962 with 50 appearances. In May, he won a doubleheader against the Milwaukee. Unfortunately, the team only won 38 games after that. Craig pitched the last game at the Polo Grounds for the Mets. Then we have Joe Christopher. Joe played in over 100 games in the outfield for the Mets in 1962. In 1964, he hit 300 with 16 homers, 74 RBIs, and in one game against the Reds, Joe had 2 triples, a double, and a home run.
What does that say?
Not bad, not a cycle, but not a bad outing. And then we have Frank Thomas. In 1962, Frank led the Mets with 34 homers, 94 RBIs. He still holds the Mets record for 6 home runs in 3 games. And last but not least is Jay Hook, who after 9 straight losses won the first game for the Mets in 1963, 9-1 complete game in Pittsburgh against a great Pirate team that featured Clemente and Stargell. That year, Jay had 13 complete games, and he threw 233 innings, which probably is not going to happen today. But it started off, guys, 60 years ago, you guys were getting ready for the first spring training in St. Petersburg. Do you remember what you guys were thinking about this time, 60 years ago? I'll throw up whoever wants to start.
Okay, I'll kick it off. I remember we were sitting in the clubhouse, all on our benches by our lockers, waiting for Casey to enter the room. And of course, we were all kind of like really didn't know each other very well, but with the anticipation of having the old professor walk out in the room and talk to us was what I remember vividly. And that was our first day. I do remember that.
Jay, what do you remember?
Well, the thing I remember, I guess, Jay, is, some of us had never played in New York, but there were a lot of players on that team, and we wondered what it would be like. But, the Frank Thomases and the Duke Snyders and the Gil Hodges and the Richie Ashburns, and those guys had been, veteran players. And I was optimistic, to be honest. And I thought, this can be a pretty good team. These guys have got great track records. And of course, Casey Stengel, that was a big deal.
Frank, how about you? What's your first memory of St. Petersburg?
It was warm.
It was warm?
Better than it was in Pittsburgh. Well, I'll tell you, I looked over the lineup, all the players who were there, and I says, we're going to have a pretty good ball club. We're going to have a pretty good hitting ball club, okay, with Hodges, Charlie Neal, okay, Felix Mantilla, and Jim Hickman, okay, Richie Ashburn, and Gus Bell, but he didn't last too long because he was a player that the Milwaukee got when they traded me to the Mets in that expansion thing. That was a crazy thing that happened there. But I looked at it and I says, and as the season went on, I was wondering, well, gee, we have that kind of a ball club. We got a lot of hits and stuff like that, but we lose the ball games in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. And we lose it in any and every which way you ever want to think about losing.
Yeah. Joe, how about your memories? Joe?
There's one thing I could do, I could hit, and I had no problem with that.
Even today, Joe?
Who?
You can still hit today?
Yes, sir.
Hey, guys, let me ask you guys a Gil Hodges question. Just got into the Hall of Fame. You guys were teammates. Anybody with, Frank, back then, did you think that Gil Hodges would one day become a manager and get in the Hall of Fame? I'll start with you, Frank.
Well, I tell you, he should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. And being in New York with all the writers that they have in New York, And it's a shame that he didn't get in sooner than he should have. And
But
he was a great first baseman. He taught me an awful lot about playing first, and I respected him, and I enjoyed working out with him and teaching me the way first base should be played. I admired him. I just felt bad when he gets off the bus and all of a sudden he can't walk, and he missed a lot of ball games. I think if he would have been there at part of the first part of the season, I don't think we would have lost as many games as we did.
I mean, did you follow him when he was a manager? Did you follow the '69 Mets at all, Frank?
Oh yes, I follow the Mets all the time, and because the Mets have been probably the best ball club for me, okay, than any of the other clubs. I played for the Pirates for 8 years, and those 8 years were, just mediocre as far as what they do. The Pirates are only interested in the World Series. That's all they're interested in. They said there's no anything is as far from 60 down back 59 all the way down that way. It's nothing with for the Pirates in that respect, and that makes me kind of angry and mad because Pittsburgh was a great baseball town.
Jay, what do you remember? Jay Hook, you remembers about Gil? First couple of years with him.
Well, I was always respectful of Gil. He was much more serious or senior player than I was, but he'd been around. He was a great player. I couldn't believe, I'm just like Frank, that he didn't get in. And Jay, I think I read that just recently that it was 38 times he was put up for that and didn't make it. Something like that.
It was around that number, and he got the most votes of anybody on the ballot who didn't get in until now.
Right, and I just felt, he's a nice guy to start with, but he was a great player too, and a good manager. What more do you need? He participated in a lot of World Series games. When he was with the Yankees, and I just thought or with Brooklyn, I mean, and how could he not be voted in? I wondered what was the problem, because I thought he should have been in there.
Yeah, he lost a couple of years in the beginning. We served the Marines in World War II, and then he died at 47 years old, which kind of, back end, if he had stayed on and won another world championship, it would have been easier. Camille, you want to ask Joe, does he have any remembrance of Gil?
He said he was a good friend to him. He was a good man, and he should have gotten in the Hall of Fame earlier.
Did he help Joe at all with anything, Camelia?
We talk together now many times.
Great. Craig, how about you?
Yeah. Oh, listen, this Gil was a gentleman, a scholar, and one of the finest teammates I ever had. I played with Musial, and I played with Gil, and he's right up at the top of the ladder as just being one of the classiest guys that I ever had as a teammate, and down to earth. I know he chatted with all of us all the time. As I hear from you guys, he definitely should be in the Hall of Fame, but long ago. And just to show you how he reached down to, I'm a rookie that year, and he reached down to Judy and I and said, can Cookie and I come up and play bridge in the room? And they did. They came. And Jay, I think he played. I have to check with Jay on that, but he came up, and we were like frozen in our seats here playing with these guys, but it was just a thrill. That's all I remember about him. And he won 2 of my 3 wins. I wish he had played, like Frank said, many more games. We might have won more games, and all of us would have benefited from him being there. He's just a super guy, and I can't say anything more about him than just that.
You guys, talk a little bit about the fans. 40 wins, 120 losses. So the fans were great. Banner Day, you guys got a lot of respect around. And whoever, what was it like to play before those kind of fans in 1962? Frank, whoever can we start.
Well, to be honest with you, I remember, because at that particular time, that's when the World's Fair was there, okay, and all of those people and my kids were at the Wells Fair every day. And, you know, in the banner days, you know, you couldn't ask for anything more than that. But be honest with you, New York is strictly a National League town. And they like that better than they did Brooklyn. And I enjoyed playing in New York. I enjoyed the you know, the things that they had for us and everything like that. And it took us up to the mountains and things like that with the family. And it was really great. And it was one of the outstanding times that I had spending in New York.
You think, Camille, does Joe have any remembrance of the fans at all?
In
I remember
62.
being in New York, yeah, and there. But you actually asked me a question on the way back there.
He was very popular back then.
Why was he popular? Do you remember?
Well, maybe they knew me, I guess.
Jay, how about you?
Well, I thought it was a terrific place to play. And, you know, Jay, this brings me to another kind of another subject too, that I learned a lot from Casey Stengel about salesmanship and about taking care of your customers, and that I've used in years after that. But he, at that time, Jay, how many writers were there in New York? Like 12 or 13 or
There's
14?
a lot more than they are now. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more papers. He, after every game, he would call those writers into his office, get them a Coke or a beer or whatever they wanted, and talk about the game and talk about, tell them stories and all this. He made the sports writers' job easy. And he knew that the way to get to the fans was through the sports writers, through the papers at that point in the career. And he did a wonderful job of bringing fans along, you know, to support the team. And then the banner days and all the other things, the fans in New York were absolutely terrific. They were just so supportive, and, you know, we were the worst team ever in baseball, and yet they really supported us.
Craig, what do you recall?
Yeah, I go right along those same lines. Before I came to New York, all I read about, heard about, New York fans are just so happy to have National League Baseball back in New York. And when I walked out on that first game, the field, the first day, the fans were cheering us on. And when I walked out on the last home game, the fans were there cheering us on. They never quit on us between the banner days and all the events they put on for us and cheered us, win, lose. I've never forgotten it, and I don't think I've ever been in a group of a crowd like that, fans, in my rest of my career. So my hat's off to the New York people for that, and I think that they were so happy to be there that they weren't worried about our wins and losses as much as they might today.
Guys, one of the most iconic guys in Mets history is Marv Throneberry. I know Jay Hook has a special story. I remember correctly, Jay, you gave Marv his nickname. Is that true?
Well, I didn't give it to him. What he came to me one day and he said, "Hook, you're an engineer, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Engineers can print real good, can't they?" And I said, "Yeah, I know. I took drafting. I know how to print." And he took the card off the top of his locker and he turned it over to the blank side. And he gave me a pen and he said, "Write Marvelous Marv on this, would you?" And so I printed out Marvelous Marv. He put it back above his locker. And that day, Frank, I think he hit a home run or did something. But the writers came around after the game and saw that Marvelous Marv sign above his locker. And I think that you know, symbolized him for quite a while.
Frank, what do you remember about Marv?
What do I remember about Marv? When he missed first base and missed second base. He got thrown out of third base.
That doesn't make him a bad person, does it, Frank?
And the umpire says, "Case, he not only missed first, but missed second too." So Case just walked back to the dugout and didn't say another word. But Marv was a good hitter. Okay, if he would only take his time, you know, and look for certain pitches. But he swung at bad pitches like we all do every once in a while. And all you can do is do the best you can and hope for the best.
Craig, you got any memories of Marv?
That incident right there is one of the big memories with Marv. We were in the bullpen that day when Marv hit that ball out into right center field. So we watched the whole play, and of course, as Frank said it, he missed first and second. And Casey had said, "Well, I know one thing: he didn't miss thirds. He's standing on it." Now the next day, I learned this later, and I'm not positive this is true, but it sounds true. The next day, Charlie Neal hit a home run early in the game. Casey came out of the dugout. As Neal got towards first, he pointed first, touch. He pointed second, touch. He pointed third, touch. Now, I think that sounds like something Casey would have done, but it all goes back to Marv. And yeah, like Frank said, he's a good hitter, very low-key guy. I played with him at Buffalo, too. Liked him a lot. And he certainly went down in history in the game as a character of the game, and he was a good guy.
How hard was it, guys? To come to the park. I remember I spoke to Crane Pool one day. He said it really got to be hard to come. You want to win and losing. Did you guys get disconsolate, discouraged? Like in August, how was it coming to the park in August when you were approaching, these mammoth loss figures? Jay, you want to start off? How hard was it?
Well, it wasn't easy, but one of the neat things about baseball, and I think we were that way in New York that year, was it's a new game every day. And you may have lost yesterday, but that doesn't mean you're going to lose today. And I think I don't know how you guys feel, but I had the attitude that hey, we got a new start, we got a new chance every day, and I felt that the guys were pretty positive in that.
Frank or Joe, anybody want to chip in?
No, I agree with Jay 100% because, and I always believed that you could get beat 15-1 today, and then tomorrow you go out and you can win 15-1. Okay, so every day is another day, and I always said to myself, if I can win in the clubhouse after the ball game is over, and say to myself, I gave 100% of the God-given talent given to me to play this great game, I have nothing to say about it at all except good things.
Frank, how did you make you feel after all these years? You still had the Mets record, 6 homers in 3 games. It's just it's 48. Almost 60 years. That record is still intact.
Do you realize that I could have had 8 home runs in 5 games?
You told me the story. Tell me again. I know you told me.
Because the first game of the doubleheader against the Reds, I hit a ball when foul. It's probably one of the very first times I ever hit the ball in right field, and the ball just went foul for the first game. And then the second game went 14 innings, and I hit a home run off of Modrowski. So I could have had 8 home runs in 5 games.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Hey, Craig, let me ask you this. Jay Hook, I'm sorry. I remember speaking to Roger Craig a couple of years ago. I think he lost 20 games. Was it him or Al Jackson? I forget who lost 20 games. And he said, I had to be pretty good to get run out to pitch all those times. Is that how you felt about it, that Casey had the confidence in you to keep running out there despite all the losses?
Yeah, that's true. Roger, I know Roger said that. And I guess I felt the same way. That he was still using us, and I think that I think I lost 19 or something like that, and I could have been in that class as well. He's just as easy.
Guys, what was it like? I think all you guys played at Shea Stadium. What was it like moving into Shea Stadium in '64? Probably who wants to start off?
I hated it.
You hated it?
Was
Frank, be honest.
You hated it for me, okay? And but you go out every day, Jay, and you give 100% of God-given talent given to you, okay? And if I made 4 errors in a ball game, it wasn't because I wasn't trying. It's because I loved the game and I wanted to win, and I wanted to win badly. But things didn't work out that way for us, and probably like I said earlier, if Gil would have been in the lineup, I think our stats would have been a lot better than they were.
But you were not a big Shea Stadium fan, or was the part? Would you like better?
I enjoyed Shea Stadium most. I just thought I'd throw that in. The Polo Ground was good for me.
Craig, what do you remember about making the move to Shea?
I didn't play too much at Shea.
That's
But
right.
I want to go back to I didn't comment on the fans and the
Yes, sir.
losing and we're all competitive guys. So naturally we took the losses hard but every day I'll say it, every player on that team went out every day, did their very best, as Frank said, and we came back and the next day we did it all over again. And we did have a few bright moments in that year. And I do want to bring up one game, just not because of me, but the day that we beat Cincinnati doubleheader, and it was in August, I believe. Our victories that day really hit hard back in Cincinnati, and Mr. Fred Hutchinson sat in that dugout for an hour. His team left the locker room. And again, we tried hard and we won some games. We could have played the Braves more often. We might have won more games too. We had good luck against them.
Guys,
Now Shea Stadium. I only went there one time. I only went there in '64. So I liked Polo Grounds, but again, it was time for a new stadium, and I thought it was a nice place.
guys, I wanted to ask you guys about the Mets. This is the 60th year. A lot of excitement around the team now. New ownership. Got new players. New manager Buck. Do you guys follow the team closely? Like we were playing the lovable losers. The Mets no longer the lovable losers. Now they're, the papers are writing. We've overtaken Yankees in New York for media coverage. It's now New York Mets town again. What are your thoughts about that, guys? Who follows the team, closely? Jay, anybody? Frank?
Well, I followed them because I'll tell you, they had a pitching staff that was out of this world, okay? And they threw the ball hard. And the difference between pitchers back when we played, more so than the pitchers pitching today, because pitchers today do not get the chance to finish a ball game, okay? If a pitcher is pitching a two-hitter in the seventh inning, okay, and he plays a man on first and second, the manager comes out and doesn't give that kid a chance to work his way out of that and give him an opportunity. How else is a kid going to learn that if they don't give him that chance, okay? Back in our time, the pitchers did the best they can. Even though they lost the game, they pitched 9 innings. That's the difference between back then and back today.
Guy, could you believe the last couple of questions? 60 years, looking back, I mean, does it seem like 60 years have gone by since the first year? I mean, whoever wants to.
60 years, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that 60 years have gone by. But I'm glad to see the Mets had some success along the way. And the New York fans are still great fans from my standpoint anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's really is a real sense of excitement now with the team, with the new ownership and the new players. And, what do you guys think your legacy would be? I mean, I know even though you didn't win, I mean, some iconic teams in Mets history, the 69 Mets, 86 Mets, but the 62 Mets will always have a special place in the Mets fans' heart. Don't you guys agree?
Jay, as far as I'm concerned, I still get probably 8 to 10 letters a month with baseball cards in them for me to sign. It's only because I won the first Mets win. Think about that. That's 60 years ago. And I just can't believe there's that many cards out there, number one. But number two, I can't believe people want that autograph. That just surprises the heck out of me.
Yeah. Craig, talk about you're being remembered.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I never thought that we'd be getting the publicity and the notoriety for losing 120 games, but it's happened. And then only in New York do we get to be called original Mets. And I am flabbergasted by the amount of people that are connecting with me. And I'm overwhelmed by the people are still interested in Met history and Mets still to this day, even though they're all brand new fans. Yeah, I think it's great.
Frank, how about you? Your legacy with the Mets?
Well, I'll tell you what, Jay, I get right now anywhere from 20 to 25 to 30 letters per week from the New York fans. Okay. And I'm out of baseball 55 years now, and they still write me in beautiful letters. And it's a treat for me because I was good to the fans. And I think that's what made it that much. As long as they would stand in line when I got out of the clubhouse, I would stay there and I would sign for each and every one. And if somebody would cross the line, I'd say, go to the end of the line, I'll be here. Okay. But I remember one time when a little kid came up and said, Mr. Thomas, would you sign these 2 cards for me? And I said, fine. I said, boy, that made me feel better that you asked for 2. And then about 3 more down, a young lady come up and says, Mr. Thomas, I did a favor. And I said, well, what is it? She says, can I ask you to sign 4 cards for me? And I just thought, why would she want 4 cards? And she looked up at me, she said, well, now I can trade it for one of Roberto Clemente's. There are lots of kids, okay?
Would you ask Joe what his fondest memories are?
It was one of the honors of his life to be an original Met.
He's got a lot of good memories from New York, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
A lot
sir.
of people still remember him to this day. He still gets a lot of fan mail.
He does. That's great. Good. Hey, guys, I want to appreciate everything. It's really going back, reminiscing